why the conversation is important. The why actually cover two aspects for any decision maker. Number one, they are too busy. They are too busy for the details. And number two, it is about the dependency, the complexity of business that we mentioned earlier. So this conversation is about the choice they're gonna make.
Welcome to the Business Transformation Podcast. And in this episode, we are talking to one of those industry experts. We are speaking to Eric Nguyen. Is that correct?
Eric
Nguyen. Yep. Eric is a international intelligent automation expert. We're going to be talking around the subject of how you bring AI into transformation. Eric is a international guest speaker, spoken in conferences, let's say, around the world, based currently in Canberra, Australia. Did some time in Sydney there, I see?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Around Australia.
Yeah, I did some time there in Australia. I think we had a quick little brief chat beforehand, and my little 1 year stopover ended up being 14 years. I'm still saying it was a 1 year stopover, but it just got a little bit extended. All right. So the topic, we're talking about RPA. RPA, is it hype or not? So has the market got it right? How are they using RPA? They got it right? They're doing it wrong? What's the lessons there? Do you have an approach that you follow when you go into a client site, client visit that you follow? What is that process? And then if your background experience, your knowledge that you have, industry expert, if you could do it again, what would you do differently?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Heath, for your kind word. And I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting conversation. And I have to say it up front, I'm keen to share practical advice as well as real experience and my own personal observation for you as well as the audience. Hopefully, by the end of the conversation, you can have a thing or two about automation, as well as you can say, oh, now I know all things about automation, at least I can try out. And on top of that, we can have the flavor of AI.
Very good.
And bring it back home with the theme around business transformation, or more timely topic, I would say turnaround, business turnaround. That's just my thinking for this conversation. Thank you.
Good. Okay, so just on that's an interesting one around turnaround versus transformation. Like when I've with a client and we'll say, okay, you have a project, a business or digital transformation project, and it has a start and an end date. And so it's not, this is your transformation project will have an end date. Your organization's transformation, however, will continue. And so I say your transformation is never ending. The project will finish and you'll go into a stage of continuous improvement that you will manage as part of your BAU, as business as usual. Now, turnaround, what is the difference between the turnaround and transformation there?
Absolutely. Thank you, Heath, for the great segue. To be honest, the first time I heard about business turnaround was actually not from the book or any podcast, but actually a face-to-face conversation with in Singapore with a friend of my father. At that time, he was in the board of director of one of the largest bank in the country, in Singapore.
All right. Yep.
And so he talked to me and he casually said, okay, my work, it is about business turnaround. In layman term, when the economic downturn, or let's say enterprise or corporation that are in the bad shape, in the red, he came in. He's like a doctor, a surgeon in the ER department. He cut to the chase. He revised the operation so that you talk about survival, you talk about tactical move, you talk about a timeline, condense it to maybe just about 12 months, even like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So it was back in, I would say in about almost like 15 years ago. After that conversation, eventually I look up the term business turnaround. And I think now when I relate to my work, especially right now in let's say in Australia as well as in Asia Pacific, we talk about things like, say, the demand and supply, the demand shrink. All of a sudden, no one wants to spend money. So then we no longer have the vision of 10 years transformation. We no longer talk about the next level. We talk about 3 months time. Do we still have enough cash flow? 6 months time. Do we have enough order? 12 months time. Do we still exist? And if you look at things like, say, Microsoft, Facebook or Google. They're not really about business transformation with those layoffs earlier this year. It was about turnaround, especially for, like, say, Facebook, where the ads business all of a sudden come into, like, say, that downfall. So they have to turn the ship around. And I really read between the line of Mark Zuckerberg's word is that 2023 is the year of efficiency. But for me, it is not about efficiency. It's not about you can let go 5% of your workforce and you call it efficiency. I think it is about steer the ship and turn it around in the way, like, say, you cut, you reduce certain operation, you reprioritize, and you reignite that kind of like that survival mode. It could be very brutal, but
okay. So it's similar to, like you said, that ERs is an emergency room. So it's the analogy would be, it's basically you got a short-term intensive surgery where you need to, if it's an organ, you're pulling it out. You're
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that's I think if the industry was to adopt that generally, that would be a good way to go. Because I've seen transformation projects that go for at least 5 years and they deliver little value because it's almost like BAU. It's like, we're just doing business as usual. No, you're trying to change the ship here, but the speed that you're changing it is like, you're never going to change it. The market's going to move and you're going to have to change again. So this 5-year little turnaround or transformation is going to take you 10 years because you're going so slow.
I can relate to that in two fronts. One, in terms of technology. Before, like, say, 5 or no, I think even like 10 years ago, a life cycle of any technology, we talk about maybe up to 5 years. And after 5 years, it's like, say, yeah, we move on to the next big things. Yeah. But now you see every 2 years, literally, you have a whole new breed of new technology. So the speed of innovation and the affordability, like cloud solution, literally you can work anywhere, Ukraine, Vietnam, Singapore, right? It is all accessible, speed, as well as the total cost of ownership. And also because now everyone go into, like, say, we as a consumer, we go mobile. For government, they have services, online services, and bank, they have, like, say, literally real-time payment and beyond, like, the traditional financial services. So just in terms of technology, it moves so fast. So anything that you mentioned earlier about project for 5 years is like the 2.5 generation of technology. And normally with those, like, big program, the thing I observed was, and actually, I think it was the fault of IT professional. We locked into scope and we want people to sign up. So I have no surprise. After 5 years, the scope was still somehow referenced to the original scope and direction of 5 years previously. Yes, ago. It was like,
out of date.
Sure, we might have some change, but the scope was just locked in. So you don't have that flexibility.
Okay. So the
apart
lesson
from
there.
Technology. I think the second part, it is also about people. People don't stay. That's my observation. Especially at the leadership. So without a sponsor, you then, sure, you have a complex project that you have to re-engage with a newcomer, explain, show, convince. And by the time that person gets some hands-on with the job, he or she decides to move on. So I think that is my observation to what you just mentioned about the speed of those transformation projects.
So the two factors there, the speed being technology is probably driving transformation and, well, part of the transformation, and at the speed that technology is currently changing, if you are going to take a long time on your transformation, as you're just saying, accessibility, speed, and cost have come down so much, or costs come down so much, speed up a lot, total cost of ownership dropping, that organization, if you're going to take 5 years to do your transformation, to the last point, your requirements that you had 5 years ago have just now, the usefulness of them once they're implemented has now been, the life cycle of them has been halved. And if you need to change. And so that part there about flexibility is probably a key part, is that there's funny agile versus waterfall. We all want to be agile, And then it comes to the story of what do you mean by agile exactly? Because agile has many, almost like business transformation, means different things to different people, and agile means different things to different people. So, they can say we want to have this done. They have the locked in requirements 5 years ago. The world's moved, but they're still locked in on the original requirements. But they say they're agile.
Yes, I think your point is really highlight one key aspect of business. It is context. Or whatever
yes.
you call story, you call it requirement, you call it vision. It comes with the context, and the context, surprise, surprise, it has a shelf life. It has I call it expiry date, use by date, because it is like, say, 5 years ago, maybe you don't even talk about, like, say, e-signature as a need. But now it is, right? So the idea, it is definitely changed over the time. So the context, business context, and that is why my work in the space of process automation, I think I can relate to the change of technology, because I always go through all those buzzwords and change and trend. I just come down to, okay, what is the context of now? And what's your, like, say, we say, okay, agile or any idea people have as a requirement are different to different people, but the context would be the same at that point in time or for that organization. So you might see it from a different perspective, but you are in the same room. So if I can bring you back to that memory lane, at least we have a way to move forward, rather than try to say, okay, this idea is like still valid. Now, what is the context?
That's the missing part. I think that question there, we'll get on to in a minute. I want to talk to you, talked about automation, and there is automation, RPA, robotic process automation, and then there's, let's say, derivatives of RPA, and you have intelligent RPA or intelligent automation. So where does the line change from going from automation, robotic automation, to intelligent automation?
That is a great question. And I must say, not much.
Not
much. Why? Because what I give you here is just a practical approach. It is like cut to the chase. For me, everything is just like, in terms of automation, let's just go back. In terms of, like, say, let's just go for the definition of automation. Automation, you have the machine to do things for you, the same set of tasks. So you have a predictable outcome. You have the high level of trust and certainty, because you control the input, you control the process. And so the outcome is going to be in a certain way, certain range. And now we move on to what we call robotic process automation, RPA. And it was just basically, they call it the rule-based automation. So basically we have software robot to replicate the business process that people work on. It could be, like, say, a simple task, like, say, check email, invoice, mailbox, move it into a certain folder, download it, extract information, and then follow on with account payable, account receivable, or admin task. Or you can have it at a long process where you say, okay, I have invoice, can I check for stock? Can I check for delivery? In the end, it's still business rules. For me, RPA is about, you work on business rules, and people get wronged or the wrong impression, at least for me, is focusing on the step that human do and say, problem solved. No, the real problem, the meaty part, is the business process, the business rules. It's not the step, it is the rules, where you say, hey, this is the data, this is how I'm gonna validate it, how I'm gonna record it. For me, my definition of robotic process automation is all about, you move data across application and apply business rules on the fly as a user, human user. Why human user? Because it is for human to have the trust. You can audit it, you can backtrack if things goes wrong, and it could be your liability.
Okay, so key parts there.
So that is the RPA. And then for me now, the part where we say, hey, we have something called intelligent automation. Cut to the chase. It is just about, now we shift to the left. We go back to the starting point of input. With RPA, because we work on rule-based. So it has to be very strict in terms of like basically structured input. It's like the form versus a complaint email. If you complain about a product, I'll give you a form where you just select or Dropbox or a radio button, select it.
Checkbox,
It is fit for robot. But then if I let you to just write an email where you're gonna
free form,
give me your emotion, you want something and then you want others, it is the kind of in the past robotic process automation would not touch it. But then with intelligent automation, the way I say it is the intelligent is nothing but you use AI power solution to transform those unstructured input into structure. And there we go. So it's just like you have a car assembly line. You have two ways to work it out. One, you have everything tidy, and then the whole machinery will work as expected. Otherwise, you just plug in. You have something at the front to say, okay, I'm also gonna sort the input in, let's say, part. So that is the intelligent. For me, the part around intelligent automation is just to highlight that, hey, we can bring AI into the automation seamlessly. And this is the danger part. People, intentionally or not, they say that they think that the part around the rules can be resolved, can be handled by AI. Can we say, hey, we're going to learn from machine learning? It is dangerous. Why I say dangerous? Because you are not, but because think about who's going to sign off for those decisions at the end of the day. Let's say at an insurer, the machine, if you say, okay, I don't follow certain rules, I just basically work on a black box. Learn. Okay, what if it was a wrong decision and now you keep doing it? What if there's a new kind of like, latest update or change in regulation? If it is a change in regulation, certainly you will have a very small number of cases show up with that kind of like change, but you have the legacy record. So the model will just say, okay, I'll go with the crowd. That's the danger part of AI-based decision. If you follow with the crowd, it is devastating. So like non-compliant people life gonna be impacted. So for me, that is the difference.
Okay, so that's the interesting part there about the crowd. It's like the what is it? It's like I think it's a Jim Collins book where he talks about, you know,
this number of the crowd.
The example he used in that book was about counting the number of marbles in a jar, and it gave the question to everyone, all the students in the class, and no one being an expert, and they had a guess, and then they had an expert who was an expert at estimation, who he made his estimation on the size of the marbles and the size of the volume and everything, and it was the sum of the crowd that was closer and what the actual result than the expert himself. So the takeaway was, even the expert, trained, educated, etc., experienced, the sum of the crowd having no experience had a greater estimation, a more accurate estimation than the expert. But here you're saying that the challenges with intelligent automation is that you could get it wrong if you focus on the wrong thing. Like that crowd there could have been, if you gave them another task, they would all collectively focus on the wrong thing. And so you're saying that wrong thing is the rules. If you focus on the rules or give the rules away, that is the problem. You need to control the rules.
Absolutely. Definitely, there are certain places for AI to play in the space of, let's say, probability, work it out. But I would say, if you really want to have the outcome right now, we don't talk about the art of possibility. We talk about real outcome here for a business, for a decision maker. It is very simple. You go where you're going to have the most value, the least amount of risk and liability. And I say liability because I've seen real consequence where things was right in the past, but now the company pay the penalty, record penalty, because of automation, because of very simple, the change of regulation. If you don't catch up with the change of regulation, it is your liability.
Yep.
And now you get into the hand of either, like say, an outdated rules in the business rule that you put into the automation, or you leave AI to help you to decide it, make the decision. Then you are vulnerable for liability.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were going to adopt intelligent automation, two parts there would be that you do control the rules. The challenge is if the rules are outdated, you're in trouble. If you were to use automation or intelligent automation there, it would be to maybe trigger you or make you alert that the rules have now changed, that the rules that you had coded into your intelligent automation would also need reviewing.
Absolutely. I think it is also part of in line with the business transformation. Basically, you have to have that kind of like situational awareness and change management embedded into the organization. When I say change management, I do not say it lightly.
Yeah,
I mean it, and I carry it out. I always pay attention to, like say, in the context of say in an organization, complex organization in Australia that they handle with, like say, $100 million daily.
Yeah,
literally. Big one. I look up at, like say, email, like say when they notify, hey, we're gonna have some change here, there, and system. I always try to break it down to, does it make sense for us to be aware, be alert? Because it is like in the nowadays, whether you talk about tech, you talk about business, we talk about dependency, right? Multi-layer, multi-level of dependency. Especially with data. They definitely, if you don't really play with change management, not just by the book, by the framework, but actually have the mindset, then you're gonna ruin the effort and lost the opportunity.
Okay, so that was a good segue into maybe your approach there that you follow. So I just want to wrap up the first part. We talked about RPA and what they're doing well, and so we covered RPA, that maybe the spectrum, so automation, RPA to intelligent automation, and your definition. But the last one I quite like, we talked around there about the rules. And I thought, when people hear automation, and they, at first it was the sky is falling and it's all bad news, going to lose our jobs. And it's, well, maybe not. Maybe what you find is it might automate the mundane, the simple tasks, low decision-making effort. Now you can work on the humans, the complex decision-making stuff. So your role may become more exciting because you don't have to do the double keying, download the document from the email and double key that into a spreadsheet. Then you're going to extract that for some MI. So it wasn't, I don't think the sky was falling. The reality, the sky didn't fall in the end. And then we came to AI. And so there's, now we've gone from automation to AI, and people starting to say the same thing. Well, the sky is falling, we're going to lose our jobs. So, well, okay, there is dangers. And the danger being, and you said there, with the control, don't give away the control. And if you do have any AI in your intelligent automation, it's around alerting or notifying you around the change in those rules, or when your rules will be impacted by some regulation changes.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Carry on.
May I just add one more point
about
earlier you talked about a question whether automation or RPA, or be it intelligent automation, is it hype or not?
Yes.
I can give you my full spiel. Okay, if I look back, it is like a long history. RPA actually at least been around for 20 years. All start in the UK.
Oh, wow.
At the back of those bank, I think Barclays was one of and also Royal Bank of Scotland. It was about, like say, after our bank account reconciliation. If in the past, you have literally, as by the time the bank closed, you will have people to basically rob the sleep and work on those tasks. And then RPA, like say, part of the some sort of like ad hoc. Let's start like as a PhD research project, turn into something real. So it is about 20 years for the industry to move from that kind of like that route into where we are now. So I think it is not a hype, it is real, because literally you and me and everyone, we take it for granted. And I think that is for me, it is the real beautiful of automation. It is gonna be invisible.
Yes.
Because so embedded into our life. One form of automation, I can tell you, people now will not talk about ROI or even question about it. A lift. It is a form of automation, right? You go up in the elevator.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The lift. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
What is the ROI of that? Of that elevator, right? And people take it for granted. But for me, it is always the direction of, let's say, automation or any kind of like technology. It is not a hype. It's gonna pass that certain point, but it's gonna embed it into our life, and it should.
Yeah, I like that. Is that I think maybe if it was a design principle, and you're in a project, and it would be that the automation is embedded into the process, the transformation, so well you don't even see it. It's invisible, to your point. I think that that would be, and it's a part of us every day. And so the hype. There's no hype. The thing is real. It exists. It's not the sky is falling. There's not that you're going to lose your jobs or everyone's going to lose your jobs. There's an opportunity here, and maybe it's a reskilling opportunity. But we'll get that point another time. So we started to get into the approach, and so the first thing you said there is, well, a lot around context, right? Context is huge. And then you started talking around the steps and change management. Now, and some organizations, I want to say all organizations, but some organizations, they're very immature in their project space and PMO, project management office, that's not that mature. I see now, probably in the last few years, 2, 3, maximum 5, that is almost every transformation project has a change manager on it. Previously, change manager didn't exist. And now they're focused around the people change, which is fantastic, because it's these, businesses run by people. And you talked about earlier, or maybe we touched briefly on that before the call, is these people and process and technology are run by people as part of your transformation. And that's often overlooked, that the people element. But you're saying change management is a key factor in the transformation. First one. So the context and the multi-layer, the complexity of the layers that exist in the organization. And so let's talk about that for a minute, because there's an organization, you're talking in terms of strategic, operational, and then the supporting, and probably where the implementation of AI actually happens, with the development and implementation, and BAU uses it, and then executives get to see the outcome of it.
Sure. I really like how you put it together under the theme of business transformation and also the hierarchy of organization. Let's just start from my perspective as I see it happen. From textbook, definitely we see the clear cut of let's call it above the line, below the line, and basically in the middle, like very, very much like say executive manager down to like say front line, and then BAU.
Yep.
I do see that as of now. In the textbook, it was like unchanged, but in reality, my observation is right now, let's say with the economic downturn, where people talk about, let's say, let's cut down the inefficiency. Let's cut down the inefficiency. Let's make decision faster, move fast.
Yeah.
What does it mean? It means the middle layer all of a sudden become, you're not that productive.
Yes.
The question of why you're here, why you will be here tomorrow. Why? Tell me why. So that's my one observation I've seen. And the other one was like say true, where people say, hey, we have a flat organization, we have a flat structure. So what does it mean? It means we literally don't have that much of middle layer, like say the messenger. We just have like one direct decision maker and make things happen. So if you see those two kind of like dynamic aspect in modern organization right now, for example, we talk about the context, and then we talk about change management in business transformation. Automation play a part in it. I think the business context really drive the morale in the company, like say in organization, in a very like fragile kind of like state. People keep saying that we like a happy employee is going to be a happy client, better outcome. But then we do the opposite way. As soon as there was like say warning in the economics kind of like forecast. So for me, it just say that sure, it is good to have a structure in terms of, like, say, the hierarchy, but in reality now, especially with business transformation, we no longer have the luxury of time.
Yes, yeah.
So it leads to the second part around change management. The change management, we can, you make a great point about change manager. However, the question is about, was there any real impact? Why? Because the change manager, as I can see, the role was like not very active from the very beginning of the journey. Literally, like, it's just about hand over the key, then change manager it's just like a real estate agency. They're gonna walk you through, see the house when it's already there. You have the brick, you have everything. Here you go. This is the key. This is the house.
Yeah.
So what? Right? It's like, okay, you BAU, your staff. This is what it is. This is the change. I'll train you. We try to, I think, in a way, we try to craft the perfect message.
Yes.
Rather than, like, say, really facilitate the change. Why? I think it is like human factor here. It is come back to that context that I mentioned earlier, where organization now, they react to the market rapidly. You don't really have that luxury of time to wait and see and wait for the wait out option. It is all about action. It's about respond. If we get it wrong, do it again. So I think these two parts with context and change management, they interplay, and we probably have to adapt to it and make the positive outcome. That's my perspective in terms of any transformation.
Okay, so the context is always key. I think that that part, I think, is generally missed. That people don't understand the context of the operating. And you said a very key point before. In most cases, the context is the same for everyone, but they're looking at an organization, but they're looking at it for a different perspective. And then, so you said earlier to bring it back to get that, maybe the refocus on, okay, where are we right now? Well, okay, we're in 2023, we're in the second quarter, let's go into the third. We've got competitors that are chomping at the bit to release a product, and we're sitting here because we've got some month on month, we're looking great. So we'll just cruise. And so, well, okay, so we've understood the context, and it will be through the perspective, certain perspective, the operations go, yep, my boxes, we're moving the widgets through the process, we're good. And so the different perspective in the same context, see the CFO is looking at it and he's going, our margins are dropping. And the CEO is looking and is going, the competitors are coming. And so in some perspectives, they're looking fantastic, and others, they're looking not. But the key part is establish that context to start with. And let's get everyone on I think words to your effect, or rephrasing what you're saying, is on the same page, and then understand where we are from that point. Now, that's context is key. And that's the part we said driving morale. And that's interesting. We're going to come, that's coming into the people part, right? So yeah, happy staff, happy customer. That's what and I talk about this when I go into some clients and transformations, and they talk about they have these great, amazing values. And I say, okay, let's be clear here. There is espoused values and there's enacted values. These things espoused is this is what you'd like to do, and enacted is what you're actually doing. And so this part we just said there about customers, what they're happy staff, happy customers, that's what they'd like to happen. But the reality is they're not happy staff at all. They should look after the staff. Yeah, you'll get to the outcome of happy people, but no, that they're not focusing on that. So that part of that context is great. And the second part there you said about change management. Yeah, we don't have the luxury of time. And the question here you said about what was a real value. Prior change management was, and I've seen it myself, and you've reading my mind, is that prior they would, and the real estate analogy is perfect. It's like almost like recruitment. The jobs are there, and all you're doing is like, oh, here you go, handing the job over to the candidate, and then asking for a check or the clip of the ticket along the way. So what was the real value that you added there, please? I might have missed it. So before it was more of a message. Okay, now this is the change, and now as you're saying, the role is actually the facilitation of the change, taking them through the journey properly.
Absolutely, and I can share with you the link of my article I wrote about it. It was about building trust framework for in the adoption of emerging technology, but
Nice.
also it is practical for business transformation as well, or digital transformation, where I might argue was about you cannot build trust simply by build it. It is like I call it mythbuster.
Yeah.
Like build it and they love it. They use it and they will love it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one myth. The other one was well, it just bring everyone along, but be selective and only show them as things progress. In a way, it is still, like say, the same mantra. We build it, we buy it.
Yep.
We'll have you to come in as a an open consultation session, but whatever you want, we'll put it in the backlog. So you're gonna stay in the room that we built.
Yeah.
You use whatever we have now as the MVP,
Yeah.
or first release, or first kind of like tranche of the transformation. Yeah, so my point in that article was all about it is not easy, but if you want to build a trust, and like say, just like the point you mentioned earlier around business transformation, it is about the continuous improvement of any organization. It is about the trust that people will willing to believe in it and walk the talk.
Yes, the walk. Yes, that's the point I was saying. Enacted versus espoused. There's you've got to actually do the things you say you're going to do, and so in trust, you've actually got to trust. Okay,
Yes,
so
and,
yeah, come on.
yeah, no.
So we got the I think we got the approach. We covered off on the definition, and we got the what's the industry doing right or wrong, the fear, and we got the spectrum. We a little bit got there into your approach that you have when you join a project, whether it's going to be automation, RPA down the end towards the intelligence automation. So have we finished on that one on the approach?
No, we haven't. Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. All right. So in terms of approach, maybe I'll make it more practical for everyone. We'll just take it like that. As an example, at an organization, I came in for their kind of like CFO division, business continuous improvement / innovation / transformation. The idea was there for like a long time, over a year. Let's just say over a year, more than 1 year. And I came in, and the task was very simple. Okay, we have a green light now. Let's make it happen. So we talk about like we have a blank canvas. So how do we start? What do we do here? The conventional approach, if you ask for, like say, my colleague in, like say, the Big Four or any kind of like delivery specialist, they will jump in and say, okay, we're gonna build you a pipeline of opportunity. We give you the pretty much the schedule, the dream. It is like say the promise was tangible.
The promise,
For me, I wasn't in that great position. Why? Because I know on the ground, I have my I see it. It is a blank canvas. It means you literally got nothing. So it be before you can dream of the pipeline. What is the infrastructure? Oh, we have IT. Right, great. There's always something like when you look at now is the context part. And it's in practice. In any organization, there's no one organization. You have multiple organizations within the organization, like say mothership, and then you have little ship. They cruise at different speed, different direction. They have different worry, different priorities. Sure, IT might have the platform, but if you want it, you have to get in line. And they already get in line for
his priorities.
Extended time, yes. And also this is about, like say, the funding. If you don't show the outcome, then how would you make it sustainable? People keep talking about, like say, the ROI, the saving, the transformation. But for me, I'm on the ground and I know it's from a business perspective, two things. What is the outcome? Is it sustainable?
Yes.
It is a good idea, fantastic. But if it is out of context, we move on. The money gonna be spent on something else. So that is the context. The situational awareness is for real. I'm not just talking about the part. Hey, let's come in the pipeline. And the second part is about the pipeline. like you just mentioned earlier, where people will say that the actual people, real people, what do you think if a stranger come to you and say, hey, tell me, or nicely say, oh, we would like to see how you work. And this, by the way, we can automate it. And isn't it a fantastic idea where we're going to save the money and we don't need it. We're going to save FTE, blah, 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 ROI through the roof.
Yes.
To approach, going to drive the same outcome. People won't feel secure.
Yes.
They won't welcome you. A lot of tension. So I know it's the second part is it's all about, even if you can have the infrastructure, if you cannot win the heart and mind of the people, it is going to be a hell of a journey. It's not easy. It's not about like all the way from the top, they say what they want, but the people on the ground,
operations
have to be with you.
Yes.
And last but not least, it is the buy-in of the whole command, like the line of the change of command, let's say middle manager. So you have to. So for me, it was all about those couple of aspects for the context. And
context is
so
key.
my approach, how do I solve it? How do I solve that problem? Number one, I know that if I see myself as just an individual, no one will listen to me, will pay attention. I will get lost in that organization. So I have to stand on the shoulder of the giants.
Yes, stand on the shoulder of the giants.
You have to be the voice and the face of the group, the division. You are representing them in front of others on behalf and also for the benefit of the organization. So it comes to this. So the first point is, know where you are. You have an individual. You are standing on the shoulder of the giant. For them, work for them. Secondly, I actually, for real, I read business plan, corporate plan.
Okay.
I read it from the intranet. I read it thoroughly. I go through things like, say, benefit management framework. Well, people won't touch it, but I do. At least I do. I know how to use it. I use it. That's why I read it. It's not because I love it. And no one asked me to do so. So basically, I go through the dry, kind of like very distant material. But why I put a lot of effort into it.
Why?
Very simple. Very simple. I'll use it at my lever. Just think about, like, say, you have a lever. You can basically move things
to your leverage.
Weigh tons. You leverage. So here the material is there. Why? What did I look for? Those material, strategic goal, the vision, the time. The time was actually the critical part, the milestone, and also, like, say, the value that the organization going for, and also, like, say, tactical
wins,
change or tactical goal, and also pain point. So basically, I try to extract those information and use it as my point of reference to talk to all the change of command. Rather than I convince them, okay, they should do this. I'll say, hey,
this is what you see in the business
exactly
plan.
what you do. What is exactly the organization is doing? If you do it, actually, you are ahead of the curve. Why not, right? And I'll help you to do so. That is my second approach. It is about, okay, make use of those materials. Yes. Collateral. Definitely, you need to be creative to use it in the way of, like, say, my passion was also in marketing. So rather than think about, let's say, the market, about the message, the communication, I borrow a few principles from marketing in a very practical way. For example, with those material, I think in marketing, I'll say, okay,
you're winning hearts and minds.
Win heart and mind. Okay, do I have any number, any fact? Sure, I can bring some fact. And okay, here's the goal. Here's the fact, the context. Great. We have some
evidence,
story here, talking point here.
Story. That's it. The story.
Yes, this is relevant. It's not just for the sake of storytelling. It's not like another report, another dashboard. It is very focused on. I always stick to the like, say, the strategic goal of the organization or any pain point. Basically, just to show, okay, we have a win here. Let's do it. Let's win the championship.
So,
and the third approach. The third approach. So that was the third approach. I will share 5 5 kind of like practical point that you can try out. The 4th one, it was more about the people, the actual people on the frontline staff. Normally, I would just say, okay, I'll sit down with them. I'll go through what I do earlier with you about, okay, this the definition of robotic process automation, for example, or other case, maybe we talk about business transformation, but in layman term, actually, you make it like say a dialogue, a conversation, and you even like you have to go further than the definition. Like for me, after I show them the definition, I'll go further with I refer to my my own framework where I work at the previous place when I first start automation. After 16 years working there and then automation in the end, I think, oh, I learned a thing or two, and I put into an approach. Yes, I call it automation readiness framework. It's just 3 things. It is about, we talk about process automation, but for me, what's come first is data. And in data, it breaks out into 3 pieces. Type, is it structured or unstructured? Is it digital or it is in another format, like video, audio? And last but not least, is the data connected? When I say connected, it is about, can you use the same piece of data and move it across multiple data set or system without you need people to explain it? Or I call it like say a dictionary. We have James Smith in here. Actually, it is James 2 Smith in another system. We need to like that kind of like a dictionary in between. So I look for those kind of like hint to say, okay, data. And I explain to people to say, hey, this is what I wanted to see. And I'm sure if you struggle with your work, let's talk about data. Yeah. Well, was it all good or all clear, or you actually have to look up and you ask and wait, and sometimes you make it wrong just because you don't have sufficient information or right information.
Yes, not the right data. Yeah.
Yes.
Or missing data.
We talk about data literacy, but for me, if you actually talk to people about pain point with their work, you're likely to see data come up almost like the very first number 1 issue. So after data, then I will look into process. And in process here, I will break it down into 3 aspects of the process. Number 1, around process. Can I measure it? It is the technique I learned, I borrow from Lean Six Sigma. Yeah, this is my habit. I pick and choose. I get things from one place to the others rather than stick to one principle or practice. Sorry, my light, one of the light just shut off. So so for me, it is the measurement. It's like measurement. I normally I'll use things like say value stream mapping as the easiest, most approachable kind of like tool set where I work with people. So it's just all about, can I measure the waste? Can I measure the current state? It is extremely powerful. I tell you, it is extremely powerful because the higher the story travel, the more the decision maker are gonna rely on those raw data. And if you can make it real, because okay, this is my conversation with X on this date, and then validate by Y and Z, they're gonna actually look at those data and make decision on those data. And normally they'll take your recommendation rather than say, oh, let's just pull another report. I think that that is some sort of like a magic touch here. If you get data from the source,
data from the source,
maker will say, I liked it, rather than have to spend time on like say another 10, 20 dashboard, another 5, 6 meeting. So that's the first thing about process measurement.
Measure.
You have to be able to measure it, make the invisible visible. That's my tagline.
Oh yes, I say that a lot. I say that business transformation, but there's exactly that. Well, business architecture, make visible the invisible. Okay, so you've got the first part of the process is measure. What's the second part? You said 3 parts.
The second part is about very simple thing. I talked to a couple of people about the same process, about the outcome, just to say, is the process standardized, and is there any room for optimize? I'll ask them upfront.
Okay,
just to get
can you optimize?
To get a feel of it. Sure, they will give me some hint, and then those hints, that is a great chance for me to gather more information. not
Okay.
just data, information. It is like, I think in a way, just like investigation. You have to be able to find the meaty part out of the conversation, not just, well, here's the form, let's fill out the form, and oh, we have a suspect. No, it is not that easy, but it's the fun. It's actually, I've learned that as you have those conversations, you build the trust. You build the trust, and you sometimes you might have the way to, let's say, roadblock from those conversation. Last but not least, about those processing. It is about, if we're gonna optimize it, what is it like? And a lot of the time, like I think the same thing with business transformation or any project, we talk about as is and to be kind of like stage. For me, the to be stage is, funny enough, I've learned it now that they actually, the convention and the common approach is you ask people, what do you want the future to be like, right? So that's the to be, and we take it for granted. Okay, this is the to be, and now fill in the blank. But now I just through trial and error, battle scar. I've learned that is something that they call a zero-based approach. So basically, here is So basically, you start from the end. You not say, okay, I'm here now, and I want to be there as my next stage, so I will try. No, we say, okay, no, it doesn't matter where you are now. This is where you want it to be. It's just like football. You want to be the champion by the end of the season. It doesn't matter how you do it. Very simple. You win every game. That's a sure strategy, right? Right? So that is the approach. Yeah, it is like I think about like Manchester City. They're champion now. What is the next stage for them? Oh, they start from the end. Right? They start from the end. We are the champion. So the same things for the process, for example, or any business operation. You can say, okay, I'm here now, I'm stuck. So the logical step is to get out of the trouble, or okay, I want something more than just get out the trouble. So what is it like? So for me, it is the important question that I will have with it is more like, say, the conversation with decision maker after I gather enough data to get the time with them.
Okay, so that's the conversation. You've come from senior executives down to operations. Now you've asked the question of the zero-based approach. Where do you want to be in the future? And then so you've gone now back to strategic and said, look, you've spoken to ops, you've seen the problems. You've asked the question, can you standardize and optimize? What does that look like? And now you've gone back to the senior executives of the big question and saying zero-based approach. What is that? If you're now the champions, what does championship look like?
Yes, because think about this. Why conversation is important. The why actually cover two aspects for any decision maker. Number one, they are too busy. They are too busy for the details. And number two, it is about the dependency, the complexity of business that we mentioned earlier. So this conversation is about the choice they're gonna make, or the bet they're gonna put on. One, if they say, okay, they acknowledge that hey, the complexity is too much. I don't think we can get away with it. So just like gradually change, then okay, that's fine. It's just where we are now. Let's just move to the next step, and hopefully we can figure out the next 3 steps after that. However, if because they're short of time, but they have the ambition and they see the potential from the data that we gather, they can say, okay, they have another choice to say, hey, let's just, rather than accept those challenge from the complexity, dependency, they just start from a blank canvas. So basically just get away from those complexity, start fresh. And I think that is important. For example, think about, let's say, the change of, let's say, in financial services in particular. We talk about, they have an agenda in terms of change from law, regulation, and it means things that work in the past will be expired by that certain time, right? So you're going to do transformation. What you're going to do, you're going to make it as a change item, or actually you can embrace it You say, hey, we're going to build something new for the future, not just for the past,
Yeah. Okay.
but for now and for the future.
There's a well-kept secret in business transformation that no one is talking about, and that's 70% of business transformations fail, wasting time, money, and missed opportunities. There are 4 common causes of project failure: lack of business user involvement, lack of senior leadership support, changing requirements, and incomplete requirements. Clients, however, don't know this, and more importantly, they don't know what to do. They're either told they need reams and reams of beautiful PowerPoint presentations, but they're really just marketing documents. Marketing for the consultancy to convince you of the more work they will bill you for. They are just designed to run up the billable hours, or they're told to send your staff off to do training to get certified in old, outdated methods that result in 70% failure. Clients know if they bring in the Big 4, they will get a Big 4 bill and no transformation. They load the project up with junior staff that produce interesting but useless documentation that they will tell you it is needed, that is full of jargon and the latest buzzwords. It sounds very impressive, but means absolutely nothing. It's well known in the industry. You get a Big 4 in, they'll steal your watch to tell you the time, and you pay them millions for the favor. That's the old broken model of business transformation. If you're ready to move to the new model of business transformation, join me. My name is Heath Gascoigne, and I'm the author of this book, The Business Transformation Playbook: How to Implement Your Organization's Target Operating Model, TOM, and achieve a 0% failure rate using the 6-step Agile framework, HOBA, House of Business Architecture, that I created and have been using for over 15 years with my private clients, including the UK government, FTSE 100 companies and startups. I'm the guy the clients call to come in and set up and turn around their failing transformations. If you're a business owner, leader or manager, a change or transformation consultant, or you lead one, and you want to move to the new model of transformation, I'm holding a free 90-minute masterclass to get your 2023 year off to the best possible start with your transformation. Make sure you join me. You need to know where and how you're going wrong and what exactly you need to do and only do, not boiling the ocean trying to do everything, especially how to don't get caught in the interesting but useless documentation trap, and how to avoid joining the 70% that fail, but instead join the top 30% club that make business transformation a success first time, on time. Details how to register are below this video. Click the link below. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, we'll get you started. So the thinking there is about having the zero-based approach, is that the maybe current thinking is they're constrained with the environment, the context they're in, and that is inhibiting their ability to think of the art of the possible. And so by putting that aside, as you're saying, and then saying, just tell me, you are the champions. And then now we know that we are the champions. What does being champion looks like? Are we efficient with our sales process, our onboarding, our ability to service? We got all that right. Top line, bottom line, middle line is all looking good. All good margins. We are month to month increasing. We're looking great. So okay, that's zero base. Working back to now where we are, what are the changes? And then that's where I think you talk about the complexity comes in, is that there are 2 constraints with the current complexity. They can't think of that place. But you take their heart and minds, as you said, with the marketing, the storytelling, the heart and mind to that place out in the future, and then okay, now we're here. That was a hard part for you even to think about, even conceive. Now we're here in the zero-based approach. Now let's work backwards of what can we do, little minor change, get some wins, build the trust, and we got the de-risk the transformation by starting on some small elements of that overall change, and then build from there.
Absolutely. One example I can share to elaborate that approach was a process that I looked into. I actually sat down with the people who work on it. Think about this. This is like, say, a 5 days a week exercise. They have a very clear time frame to get it done. They can't get it wrong. It was about 300 mouse click and typing for the whole process.
Okay.
One. Wow. And when we talk about report, we talk about like it's complex for financial report. It relates to cash flow, and it's like multiple couple of items. It's heavily dictated by the regulation. So 300, and then on top of that process was when I asked about document, just for reference, I got 2 versions. One version 10 years old, the other version, the newer version, 6 years old.
Wow.
So you tell me, right? So I've learned that, okay, as part of the conversation, I've learned that it turned out that apart from that one kind of like outcome, the report, they will have to do some ad hoc work to have the bundle to serve the current need. But then I think at the time, in about 4 months time, as the regulation change, there are going to be a lot more things changed to the current work.
Yep.
A lot more. And what they have provide might not be relevant for a long future.
Yeah.
So
that 10 to 6-year-old report with the amount of regulation change currently underway, not 16 years ago, the current amount underway, if they've got reports that maybe the template was constructed 10 years ago, they're going to be in big trouble.
Absolutely. And you think about like the whole things about, like say, the logistics, the training, the backfill, and you think that throw into the mix of COVID, people got sick, work from home,
all that
everything, like
automation,
challenge. Yep. So basically, I look at it and I talk to the client. I explain and say, okay, if we follow through, it's gonna be a long journey, because I can see they do some unexplainable step.
Yeah,
it is supposed to be like say nice and clean, reasonable step, but then hang on, sometimes they just type in somewhere randomly, and it is not consistent. But it is the practice. I could not question why. It turned out it's because of like those constraints in certain
some
system
legacy
that they use.
Yes,
legacy. So, and also because in the past thing goes wrong, rework, mistrust, so they have to put basically control over, like say 2-3 layer of control and report red flag, just to make sure that things is correct. So now when you try to bundle it, you don't have that backstory. You just say, oh, this is the action. This is the action. And this is the part where I mentioned earlier with my definition of robotic process automation. I talk about business rules. That is my interest. It is my work. Not talking about the 300 click and type. It is boring. It is wrong. So okay, fast forward to the zero-based approach. I work with my colleague. He was like say the expert in the field. He knows things inside out, and he understands the policy layer, not just the task layer. He understands the policy layer. So we basically redesign the process, not from where we were, because not even know where we are now. 307, is it right, wrong? Can we optimize it? Maybe, but for what? So we start from the end. We say, okay, this is the outcome is going to be like. Why? Because it serves the purpose of today and tomorrow. And serve the purpose of tomorrow is critical, because you talk about the amount in the like a lot of money in, like say it could be 100 millions daily. So definitely it was a brave move, put it that way, but it was for the right reason.
Okay. So the starting point there was that you had the zero approach. So you focus on the rules there being defined and captured in the policy. You have an expert there that helped you define the process based on the policy and the changes that would happen to those policies. And you had, and the good part, and I think that's it's so relevant, it's not just defining how it will be today, but for tomorrow, i.e. the future, with the anticipated changes. So that's, you talked about it earlier, the building in scale, so that you can, as the business changes, environment changes, the organization can change with it.
Absolutely. And I have to emphasize one more time, the zero-based approach is sounds sexy, but you have to bring in the marketing flavor into it. It is the 100 millions daily transaction. That is intentionally. I basically learned the process. I understand the impact, and I know what make it reasonable to decision maker.
So you got to put got the messaging right.
Yes.
To sell the story to the
right message.
The right, the right,
But then we actually we show, not just tell them.
So we spoke about this before, that it is, and I like that. I'm going to quote you on it later on for sure. Show me, don't tell me. And I think if that's the message or voice that's coming from the executive team is show me, don't tell me. I think that's missed a lot. A lot of consultants will want to document it and say, well, it's now documented. So documented is one thing. Maybe let's show an MPV maybe, or a proof of concept of how this actually works in operations. I don't want you to tell me, I want you to show me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is the part around optimization, about like whether we have a the buy-in.
Yep.
Yeah, the buy-in to say, okay, let's start with let's go on with the zero-based approach, or let's just improve what we have now.
Yep. Okay.
So that's the process. Now back to my approach. I don't want to take too much of your time, maybe another time.
Yep.
And last but not least, it is about the last pillar for me in that automation readiness framework. It's about system. It's weird, isn't it? We talk about process. Why would I care system? Because once again, it's all about the interdependency of any organization and the speed of technology change. For me, this system, it comes down to three things. One, the system that they use today, what is the shelf life?
Yep.
Would
Shelf
it
life
be,
of the system. Yep.
Yeah, would they change it, or they are about to change it, or they're gonna wind down the current system, or it is like obsolete in the next 2 years or so? That's number one. Number two, it is about in the space of the system, can I have access to data? What does it mean?
Yep.
The data that I can test it. Because when you build something, you have to be able to show people. And for example, let's say bank, it is extremely difficult to replicate the production and the non-production. So I'm not talking in the technical term, just very layman term. When you have something for real, it is very different from, like say, a sandbox or a space like a workshop. The workshop arrangement is different from the real kind of like a kind of factory.
Okay, so for the audience, if you're missing, so Eric's talking in a couple of technical terms there. When we talk about sandbox, we're talking about an environment, technology environment, where you can play around like in the sandbox in a play center, where you can test things with no risk of it have an impact to the rest of the organization or environment. So when we're talking about readiness framework, your readiness framework got a few elements. So we got the shelf life, is that you're asking the first question of, what is the shelf life today? And so the question around that is, if you're picking a system or have a current system that's about to end, you've got a burning platform, you better be prepared to replace it or upgrade it. And then you got access to data. And the third part was?
The third part around those systems was about, is it stable?
Is it stable?
Is it like stable? Is there any kind of like dependency? For example, in finance, for example, if you use certain ERP system, it is all cloud-based.
Yep.
The response time sometimes was quite vary, and even worse. I've seen, like say, one of the client, the team built an automation to replicate a step-by-step process of an agent, and to a screen, it just like stay there for 6 minutes. I asked the guy, he was supposed to be an expert, say, hey, can you explain to me why it took so long? He told me that this is now relate to the second point I made about system, about the difference in terms of environment. So it turned out that when you run in kind of like test environment or build the environment, it's fine. It will work fast. But when you actually move into the real world,
production,
production, it's just like, hey, wait, it failed, it crashed. Why? It was just like the response time was so varied. So it was the reality. I would not say theory. No, I'm talking about real battle sky here.
This is
so
not a risk, it's real.
It's real. He makes it to be like, say, obscure time 6 minutes. It's just
there was nothing. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be okay. Hey, relax, have a coffee, it's fine.
but still, to be honest, he pointed out quite rightly, for a manual process that the team gonna go through, it would be about 30 minutes end to end. With the robot software, it was roughly about 20 minutes. That's number one. Number two, the robot gonna work during Sunday, Saturday,
weekends. After hours,
and like say 4 a.m. in the morning until 10 p.m. So what is the point? Well, what's the point when you say, oh, you only save 10 minutes? No, the robot is a digital worker. That's the key part. You have another worker. We call it I call it the hybrid workforce. So you not just rely on that couple 9 to 5 mentality, or we have offshore team 24/7. You actually have another force here, cheaper and more, in a way, flexible. You can scale up or you can wind down. So that is my approach with automation, but I think it's also applicable for business transformation.
Yeah, very good, very good. I'll play it back. Hopefully I can remember. I've written it all down. Well, hopefully. So I'll play it back in a minute. So the last question. Knowing what you know, your years of experience, lots of different clients, if you could do it again differently, from all this experience that you've got, you're starting your career out for the first time, you want to impress or you want to deliver value, what's your mantra? And how are you going to do that? Well, how are you going to be doing differently to what you've done before, or would you do it exactly as you've discussed?
I would say it is a very difficult question, because as time goes by, we have access to better tools, and the expectation of people is different, and the context, business context, is also changed. And for sure, everywhere we go, we learn something, and then when we go to the next place, actually we're gonna relearn it. So if I can do it again, if I can start again, I would say, I would try to bring my approach and apply it early on. But still, it is a team effort. It is not just myself who can do all the trick and get a client on board. I think it is about, I think the hardest question, if I may, to counter to your question, is what the clients really want. What do they want exactly? Sure, you can have 10-page, 20-page of, let's say, requirement, job description, project like goal, success factor. May make it 100, make it 200.
Okay,
what exactly they want. I think that is the hardest question. So even if I can do automation again, I think I still have to figure it out. I don't have the perfect answer to tell or to know what client want. The same thing probably for business automation.
I think that comes back to the earlier point of its context is key, and understanding the context. And then probably the second question is, as you said there, what does the client really want? And then let's focus on there. Now, I think also the challenge with that, and it comes through experience, you get to see it, is that the client doesn't often know what they want. They think they know what they want until you show them maybe the art of the possible. Maybe that's going to get that saying like business transformation will become a bad word, or business architect will become a bad word. The art of the possible. Well, if that art of the possible saying gets in the wrong hands, the marketing guys who would say it's all possible. And it's like, well, and then the realists like you and I will come along and say, well, what is actually practical?
Absolutely, I agree. One more point I like to add to that is it would be about the change of people. People don't stay in the role. So even if we say, okay, let's ask the client and work it out with them, what do they want? But there's no they there. It's just individual. An individual of the day will make the decision of the next move. So it is like you try your best, but then you play catch up all the time. My only point here is like, I think perseverance and play for impact is the only combination I think will help you to have a meaningful journey with the client or with the work.
So I think there's a little lesson there for any newbie transformation consultants. There is persistence, and then play for impact. And so it's like you just said there, you're playing catch up, and that might not be a comfortable position for most people to be used to or like. So if you're thinking about a career move or getting better, the discomfort that you may feel or have at the time with a client is like, that's part of the course.
Absolutely. It could be like, say, a great experience, and you actually see the impact of your work. But on the bright side, I try to see it, spin it from, once again, marketing. I try to see it from a perspective that, hey, play for impact and see the outcome, get the meaning of the outcome, and wrap it nicely with a bow as a story of like a winning story for the client and then for yourself. So for yourself, you have it permanently. It is yours. Right. It is like part of your career path, your journey.
Yep. Your
good story
repertoire.
to tell, to share.
Yep.
But for the client, if you give them that kind of like winning story, it's not just for yourself interest, but actually to share that kind of like that win, that celebration with everyone. I think that's the part related to the part of a win. You try to win the heart and mind, and actually you're gonna do the talk, and you give them something that they say, yep, they've done something. They achieved something.
Yeah, delivered something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like how you said that on a positive note, leave it on a positive note. Yeah, I like when you leave a project and you have delivered the tangible changes, and the business have working with those changes that have been implemented, and their life is a whole lot easier, and they're more relieved, less stress. And you go, well, that's what I came for. And if we're even lucky enough, you've imparted the knowledge and now the experience or the transformation that they have going through that process, that they can go and do it themselves next time on their own. And if they want, of course, they'll call you back and to support them or coach them. But they have now got the skill, like the muscle. They've now built the muscle. Now they've got to use the muscle. That's the rewarding part. Yep.
Yeah, that is the rewarding part. And now it's more like, say, the meaty part, the practical action. I will not just end with like a good story for them to tell.
Yep.
Actually, it is a couple of plays that the client allow me to basically help them to work on the part around the benefit realization and benefit management.
Yep.
So it is not just, hey, this is a great journey, 6 months, 12 months where we are now, potential. No, I help them to make it sustainable. It is about funding. It's about the real impact, the ongoing change that they can make, and capability. I help them to basically materialize it from the business perspective, operation improvement, not from a consultant perspective of how good I am. No, it is about them, where they are now, how better it is now, and they can materialize it. Once again, relate to the point that I made about I read their corporate plan, strategic goal. It is like I do not invent the material. It is there. So now just say, okay, let's just extract and measure where we see things that can relate to those key points, make it all visible. This is how we're going to gather those information, make it into the habit, and socialize it with decision maker to basically let the decision maker to tell the story. So they do not, they have two things. They have a story to tell, and they have numbers.
Story
and a way for them to gather data to basically keep that conversation going. So that is my, I think in a way is like my approach to hand it over. This is not just, okay, I get the job done, transactional relationship.
Transactions done. I see you. Now, I'm a big fan of that benefits realization, and my approach here, that is right smack dab in the whole middle of the model, benefits realization or benefits modeling, mapping, prioritization. And then that part there is so key, and I think it's missed in transformation at the moment, is that in the marketplace, that benefits is something that's done as an afterthought. Someone called a benefits manager will rock up to a program after the program is almost finished and say, okay, which benefits did you realize? I said, well, actually, we're not responsible for realizing the benefits. We're responsible for the changes that, when implemented over time, the business will realize those benefits. And there's two parts, immediate and final. But what we'll do as a program, we'll hand over the benefits realization plan to the business leaders, the business operational, and they will manage the realization. But the good part is those operation managers have been involved in the whole process. They helped us define the benefits profiles from the beginning, the changes that enablers that, when implemented, will allow the business and enable the business to realize those, and we'll give them a plan to manage it. And it's not realizing at the time that, or the value that they thought at quarter 1, quarter 2, etc., then they can make the adjustment. So they do.
Yeah. On that note, may I just share a couple experience I have, at least for my part. Once my one of my partner, the business partner, the firm partners, he told me that okay, Eric, if you don't have if the client don't know what they want, but you have to deliver certain result, do it. Make sure that you bring it under assumption. Okay, this is the assumption based on what we've known. This is the outcome. So I took it and apply it to the space of benefit management as well. I call it forecasting, and the client fine with it. Why? Because this is like two part. We build that kind of like matrix based on like all the way to the corporate plan, and
Yep.
then we'll build some sort of like a model, and then projection, forecasting, and then after that, as soon as we like say deploy, then we will start to come back and gather some hard evidence to say, okay, this is the forecast, and this is the actual response. Does it match? If not, yes or no, and then we keep basically help them to calibrate it. But the main part for the business is if they don't have the hard evidence right away, they can confidently use the forecast.
Oh, wow.
And they say, okay, yeah, well, because they already know what is the margin going to be look like. Is it like too much or too little? They can adjust their forecast. But at least it is not, oh, we don't know, let's wait. No.
Yeah.
Here we have a model, a forecasting model, and then we capture a couple of like say early initiative, and then because it is the decision maker's job to make the final call, and if you have enough information, enough fact, enough assumption, and somehow like relevant material, they're happy to take it. I think this is like a something I've learned just along the way is if you wait for the perfect answer to give it to the client, you are in the wrong business, because the client wants you to help him or her to find the answer. And if there's any limitation, tell them and give them that level of kind of like understanding of the margin. I think it was also one of the reasons why I could make a breakthrough in my career from let's say operation in telecom into business analytics, and then into automation, because I was able to give the executive literally in split second just enough data, just enough insight for them to make the decision or to make their point clear. So they say, oh, okay, this guy he gave me the right things at the right time.
Yep. Okay, so I think the takeaway there is you gave them insights, and then you caveated when you didn't have all the information, and that was enough for them, as opposed to what would the term be? Perfection doesn't exist, right? So waiting for all the information all at once in the right instruction format that you wanted, it's not going to happen. So come up with some forecasts, some modeling, put your assumptions in there, disclose, full disclosure, and say, given this scenario, these and these things may happen, but the caveat is this and this. But this is our projections. The best part being you have fully disclosed what the future may look like, with caveats where certain conditions, if this applies, then that first forecast is no longer relevant. Next one, if this all applies, it is relevant. So instead of waiting for everything, all the information. Okay. All right. Okay. So we might have to wrap it up there, Eric. That was a great conversation. Thank you very much. Okay. So now, so everyone can get a hold of you. I'll put your contact details in the show notes. And also you mentioned your article that you wrote on, let me see here, on building trust. And you cover in there that the myths, I think there might be 3 myths in there. Okay. So if everyone gets a hold of Eric, wants to know about intelligent automation, and you're in Canberra, the man is in Canberra. So you in the heart of gold of the government space down there in Canberra, where the whole of Australia government is basically in all of Canberra. Yeah, so if they want to get hold of you, and your details in the show notes, also drop me the link to your article, and I'll put it there in the show notes so they can download it. Eric, what is the time over there in Australia right now? It's really early.
It is midnight.
Oh my goodness, you're a legend, dude. You're a legend. Okay.
Oh, welcome. Okay, it's my pleasure. It has been a great conversation. I think we still have some thing we can have another go for.
Yeah, we'll come on for part 2. We'll schedule a part 2.
Absolutely. Where we talk more about AI and basically the conversation about AI and how top management consulting business now whispering to the ear of executive. AI can solve business transformation in no time.
All right, that'd be a great conversation. One of my favorite subjects, talking about the big 4 and how much help or not they do in transformation. And so that would be great. So we'll schedule a part 2. All right. Thank you very much, Eric. Have a good evening, and look out for this coming out in about a week or 2. And then I'll tag you on LinkedIn, and you can share it in your network and say, okay, here I am. I was on this podcast. We spoke for 2 hours. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.